Welcome to the Big Me Kickoff. I'm your host, Kevin Noon. It is Friday, the 13th, February 13th. Here, 2:30 on the East. If you're watching us live, if you're catching us on the on the replay or on your favorite podcasting platform, just know that we did this at 2:30 on Friday the 13th. I want to thank everybody for joining. It's been a minute since I've been on the show. We won't dwell on that. We'll just kind of move forward. Be sure to subscribe to the channel here at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Hit that thumbs up, hit that bell. Don't miss a single thing that we do. I am going to try. Oh, we've heard this before, Kevin. I'm going to try to do the shows on the more regular, but we will see. Not planning on going too long today. It is a beautiful 40-degree day here in Columbus, Ohio. The sun is out. I have friends who are like, you need to go out and take a walk. I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm going to go for a walk, but it is nice outside, especially after some of the crummy weather. We can see all the gray and dead grass right now from having a foot of snow on the ground. So we'll just kind of get right to it. Talk a little bit about, I guess, the upcoming NFL draft. I guess you predicate that by talking about the combine, the scouting combine. 11 Buckeyes have been invited there. Third most for any school in terms of invitations. Everybody that we expected to get invited got invited. I guess the two names that people would point out that did not get invitations would be Tywone Malone and Jaden Fielding. We're not here to denigrate people. So I know that people certainly were disappointed with the kicking last year. That's fine, but we're not going to get into any of that. And Tywone Malone certainly had a couple of good moments with the Buckeyes, but just wonder what his career would have looked like if he would have gone to Ohio State right out of high school and not spent some time at Ole Miss, splitting time between football and baseball. Florida Buckeye 1642. Yo, Kevin and Buckeye Faithful. Excited about Big Noon on the airwaves. OH. Hope you're doing well, Florida Buckeye. Hope that I know the state of Florida got some cold for a while as well, especially around the part of. I know you off air, so I know about where you live. I know that where you live probably got some cold weather too, but I'm sure that didn't slow you down in terms of going out there and cooking meats and everything else. So keep on rocking, keep out and enjoying that patio that you have. I will probably not be on Southern Swing this year, maybe next year, but not this year. So we'll have to figure out a time for me to get down there and take you up on those tomahawk steaks that you have so famously talked about in the past. Doug343, hey guys. Hey, how are you doing, Doug? Hope all is well with you as well. Again, lightly promoted show. I'm trying to just do proof of concept. I'm trying to motivate myself to do shows. We're in kind of the slow period. It's never slow over Buckeye Huddle, but it's a little bit of the slow period. We're not quite into spring ball yet. Not as much to talk about. A lot of big picture stuff. That's why I'm shooting maybe for a 30-minute show. Just see what's there. See how many people come in on an unpromoted show and then promote and see if we get a little bit more. Again, I'm not going to have my feelings hurt that the numbers are so low here. I mean, it's Friday. It's Friday. And Monday's a holiday. People might be already cutting off work and trying to get a 3.5-day weekend, things like that. I get it. I just wanted to try and do a show at a point where I had some time to jump on the computer and be able to talk with y'all. But who are you most excited to see in the upcoming NFL scouting combine here at the end of the month into the beginning of March? Generally, I don't even have the dates in front of me. Who do you want to see? We'll say some hellos and we'll get back to the question. Mika Hanna, good to see you, Kevin, buddy. Hope you're doing well, Mika. I know you've got your own podcast. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at the ones you've sent me. Honestly, I don't go back and look at my own podcast, so I've just been monumentally busy, but I hope you're doing well. Doug says that you messaged to Mika, and then John Dowd says, I can send some Uber Eats Burger King my way. Joke's on you. Closest Burger King is a little bit away. The Burger King that was here in Pickerington got closed down years ago and has turned into a Popeyes. Now, there is a Burger King in Reynoldsburg. Not exactly close. I guess you're guaranteed that it's going to get here and it's going to be even colder and crummier. I had for lunch Arby's, and that's something that I don't normally do. One, because it's really expensive, and two, it's not really convenient to get to. But I wanted potato cakes. They were just right out of the oil, so they were hot. So I ate them in the car because hot potato cakes are perfection and cold potato cakes are garbage. So that was pretty good. Mika Hanna also hates Burger King. And then John Dowd also says, good afternoon. Now, I think I'm probably most excited to see some of the testing numbers of both of the linebackers, of Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. Now, obviously, somebody like Carnell Tate is going to do really well if he works out and everything. Because again, you don't know. Nobody's having to declare these things at this point. We don't know who's going to work out, who's going to do what drills, whatever. But a wide receiver going through the gauntlet. If you don't remember what the gauntlet is, that's where they have you run essentially down the yard line, and you catch one way and then you catch the other way, and you keep going until you get to the end, and then you turn the corner and you run to the end zone. Now, that's always good video. There's obviously they don't do a lot of wasted efforts at the combine. There's so many players there and everything else. You kind of have to go through that. But I want to see. I think Arvell Reese is going to be a testing freak, and I think that we already know that Sonny Styles is as well. So I want to see what each of them are going to put up there. And that's not taking anything away from Caleb Downs. That's not taking anything away from Caden McDonald. That's not taking anything away from some of the players that may go in later rounds. But you look at the 5 Buckeyes that I mentioned there, and those are going to be the 5 that are likely first round picks. And I was looking at Rob Rank's draft for Fox Sports, and he had 4 Buckeyes going in the first round. Strangely enough, he did not have Caden McDonald. I did not see him, at least, in looking in it as I was doing my research. But I did go through Mel Kiper's ratings, and he had Caden McDonald number 17 overall, which obviously is good for a first round grade, even at a position like defensive tackle, especially at a position like defensive tackle. But again, according to the Fox Sports draft, Arvell Reese going number 2 to the New York Jets, Sonny Styles going number 4 to Tennessee, Carnell Tate going number 7 to Washington, and then Caleb Downs going number 9 to Kansas City. So if the Buckeyes get 40% of the first round, it's gonna signal a couple of things. One, just how talented this team is, and two, it's going to highlight what the hell happened. Why couldn't they win the national championship this year? Well, I think we've labored through the difficulties of winning a national championship and getting everything to work right each and every week. I think we've kind of gone through that, and certainly if you haven't with me, you have with Tom and Tony over on Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning and Buckeye Weekly Podcast. But it excuse me, it goes to show just how talented this team is. If you look at Ohio State's draft shortly after the 2014 season, you had 5 Buckeyes go in the first round. That was a talented draft. I think this draft is going to be just as talented. I think you're going to hear a lot of Ohio State talk on that first night of the draft when that comes up here, I guess in April. I don't even know at this point. I'm going to probably take off the day after the first round because I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of writing to do, doing a couple multiple jobs at this point. But I think that this draft is going to show a lot. Now, the thing that I'm going to say here is when you have 4 players already projected in the top 10, there's not a lot of room to move up. If you assume that Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1 to Las Vegas, the Indiana quarterback, there's nowhere for Arvell Reese to go other than maintain or move down. There's not a lot of room for Sonny Styles to do at 4 to move up. There's not a lot left there. And I can say the same about Carnell Tate and Caleb Downs. So it's going to be important for these guys to really bring it because, we're talking millions of dollars in terms of these decisions. We're talking a lot of money at stake in play when it comes to your draft position. I mean, obviously, everybody who signs as a first-round pick has that club option for a 5th year, which is good, bad. I mean, it's good to have that deal already in place. It's bad if you're not able to immediately get to your second contract. Um, John Dowd asks, who would I take at number 2, Downs or Reese? I'm taking Reese, and that's not because I don't think that Caleb Downs is not phenomenal. I don't know if I'm taking a safety at number 2. I think that if you look at Reese, and a lot of people value him as a pass rusher, and you sit there and have him, do some things different than maybe what he did at Ohio State. I mean, obviously, we saw some of that with Baron Browning, a linebacker that kind of slid down a little bit at the next level. I think that in terms of positional value, that there's a little bit more there with Arvell Reese. So, what say you, John? What are your thoughts on I these live shows are great because I open it up to our watchers, our viewers, our listeners. If you're not watching us live, you can always put stuff into the comments. I do try to go back and read those, and if I like something enough, I'll bring it up on the next show. So be sure to get it in there. So what say you? I just think that's the case. I mean, because again, this is not a matter of the draft. Never is about take the top 50 players, rank them 1 to 50, and then just assign them from there, because that's not how it works. What do you need? If you don't, I mean, if you're the number 1 pick in the draft, probably need a quarterback. So it's going to be hard to get away from. It's going to be hard to get away from a quarterback. Now we'll get to John's answer, then I'll get to Mika's question or comment here in a second. I'm taking Downs and feeling confident that he's a potential leader of a defense with those sorts of accolades already. I don't see the potential off the edge from Reese personally. I think we'll know a lot more when what we see in terms of the combine. Now, you're not going to, you're going to get to see them go through drill work and things of that nature. NFL Network is always great to watch during the combine. I'll be DVRing a lot of it just for stuff that starts a little too early for me. But again, I'm of the mindset that I have a hard time taking a safety number 2. And again, it's nothing to do with that. I don't think that Caleb Downs can't cut it. He's going to be a long-time pro. He's going to make a lot of money in the NFL. He's going to make Pro Bowls. He's going to be all NFL. He's going to do a lot of things. But when you are picking number 2, I don't think you necessarily can go best player available. I think you've got to address your needs. So, and there's always going to be a need, especially for the Jets who are picking number 2, to bring that type of player in there. So that's my view. Again, we're all entitled to our own views. We all get along. So there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with a little disagreement there. Mika Hanna says she hopes some Buckeyes join the Bengals. Don't make it sound like this is on the Buckeyes. Blame Cincinnati ownership. They're the ones who are making these picks. They're the ones that are making the decisions there. So let me rephrase that to, I sure hope that the Bengals get their head out of their ass and draft some Buckeyes, because they just, for a while it seemed like Cleveland had some sort of memo saying don't draft Ohio State players to your own detriment. It feels like the Bengals kind of still are operating off that memorandum, and it needs to be taken care of. And Mika jumps in and says that she knows. So again, I know you're a smart enough fan to know what's there, but for people who maybe don't follow the Bengals, this is a front office issue. This is not an Ohio State issue of, this isn't recruiting and Ohio State players are like, nah, I'm good. You get your name called or whatever. It's very rare that you can affect a trade before you ever show up for a program. Robert Howard says, my guy Kev, hope you're doing well. Says hey to everybody else. Doug H says Sonny is a safe pick. Sonny is a safe pick. Again, they have him going 4 to Tennessee. Would you take Sonny over Arvell? I'll ask that to the group right here. Which direction would you go with that? Would you, because you're again, everybody's like, well, linebacker versus linebacker, they're not the same guy. They're not this. I mean, it's not exactly the same, the same position or anything like that. You've got to. There's some nuances there. I mean, do you have Arvell as more of a pass rusher? what do you do there? So again, if you're picking at 4 and you're concerned about making a safe pick, what are we doing here? You need to go out there and get somebody that is going to have an impact right now. You need to get somebody that you're going to be able to utilize. I don't think that you're sitting there you're not looking for value. You're not making a value pick in the top 10 of the draft. I mean, there are going to be teams, there are going to be places of where you do go after the best player available. You're picking number 4 overall because you suck. I mean, your results were terrible, and now you're picking number 4. So you need to address some of these things. So that's what's going to be there. Again, we're talking about 4 Buckeyes in the top 10. Okay, Doug says by safe I mean no brainer. Maybe a no brainer at 4. I don't know if I'm taking him at 2. I don't know if I'm taking him at 2. Um, John Dowd, Caleb having 100 tackles as a freshman will always blow my mind. Then he almost picked off J.J. McCarthy first drive against Scum and toe sliver barely was barely out of bounds. I'm taking Caleb Downs. I don't have the same value of a safety in terms of my draft board. I just don't. I don't. You need to be drafting a Cadillac position at this point. If there is a need for a Cadillac position, and if you're considering Arvell Reese kind of an edge, if there is a need and he's the best edge available, you got to take him, in my opinion. We could sit there and fast forward 2 years from now, and you could be like, and John could be like, "You were so stupid, Kevin. You got this wrong. Look at what Caleb Downs has done, or whatever." And that's fine. We can revisit this in 2 years. Good Lord willing, we're all still doing this in 2 years. Still doing podcasts. Who knows? Maybe by then the technology is I'll be doing podcasts directly into your smart glasses or something like that. Who the hell knows? But I just don't have the same positional value on a safety as I do an edge. So, we'll see. And the thing is, we may come out of there, and I don't think I'm going to feel any differently about any of these players. I don't think I'm going to see anything in terms of drills or testing numbers or anything else that is going to change the world. John Dowd also says they feel safer on Styles over Reese. I think that part of that is because, well, let's not forget, Sonny Styles was misplaced to start his career. Playing him at safety was a choice. And I'll just leave it at that. It was a choice. It's not the choice I would have made. It's not the choice that I think anybody on staff at Buckeye Huddle would have made, but it was the choice that was made there at Ohio State, Jim Knowles, what have you. And I just didn't think that putting him there was the right position. He needed to slide down. Hell, I'd like to have seen him rushing the passer a little bit. You sit there and you look at Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese just couldn't get to the field because of the guys that he had ahead of him for the start of his career. But I think that there's more familiarity with Styles' game over Reese. I think if you go back and you look at each of the games, look at each of the players in a vacuum without hype, without noise, and you just look at what they're able to do in terms of what their responsibilities are, where they meet their responsibilities, where they maybe come in under their responsibilities, and where they exceed their responsibilities. And again, I can like vanilla and strawberry ice cream, and I'm not choosing one or the other per se, but I just think that there is more upside in terms of what Arvell is going to be able to do in the NFL game. So, I would just take it for that. You see, we also have Robert Howard saying safer, most likely Sonny, higher ceiling, definitely Arvell. They just don't make guys like Arvell Reese. Now, Ohio State is hoping that they made another one that went to Glenville High School with Sincere Johnson, who maybe they can get to the field a little bit quicker. But Ohio State's going to be just fine again at linebacker, in my opinion, this year. So it's not going to be a case of Sincere being able, I think, to walk in and wrestle a position away. Mika says that Arvell is versatile, so you go from there. I just think that Arvell is going to be the guy. I just really do. And I've talked to some NFL front office types, low level office types, not GMs or anything like that, and they are just salivating over Arvell and his skill set and just what they would be able to do in terms of running NFL style defenses with him. What happens if you get him in a 3-4 defense? I mean, how does that look? I mean, there's just a lot that you have to like there. John Dowd says they don't make guys like him next breathe. Now they think they have another. Come on, Kevin. Well, I'm just saying. Both went to Glenville. Both absolute athletic freaks. Both play sort of the same position, sort of. And let's remember, how many times, if I had a nickel for every time we had to talk about somebody being the next Percy Harvin, I'd have at least a couple bucks. I probably have enough to go out drinking tonight. So, kind of take it from there. That's my view on there. Again, I'm not going to put that heat on Sincere Johnson to be like, oh, you're definitely the next Arvell Reese. That's not fair to Sincere Johnson. I'm sure Sincere Johnson wants to be the first Sincere Johnson, not the second coming of Arvell Reese. But everybody likes comparisons. Everybody likes comps. So you kind of go from there. Mika Hanna, who obviously loves recruiting, says they are certainly similar. So take it for that. Doug says one thing for certain: Arvell is going to be a wealthy man in a few months. Absolutely, absolutely. Makes me wish I was good at anything, especially playing football, because these guys are about to get paid. Mike Ferguson ready for a Juck eating challenge this year. I don't know what's been conspired with Juck doing any eating challenges. I know that I would like to get down to the new Buc-ee's once that opens up in Huber Heights. Maybe not necessarily to do an eating challenge. I couldn't think of anything worse than driving all the way down to Huber Heights to then do an eating challenge, hurting my stomach, and then having to drive home or be driven home back to Columbus for doing all that. So now, why did he disappear for games at a time? I'm seeing what you expect. I'm seeing what you see, except his disappearance at times. There are times I didn't see Sonny. There were times that the other team's allowed to scheme and try and stay away from these guys. Ohio State certainly had times where I don't necessarily agree with what they were doing defensively, but let's also remember it's more than just not. Well, I didn't hear his name. I didn't see him in the stat book. Well, there's a lot more in play than that. Then it's like, well, the guy just freaking took the game off. That's not how it works. And you're not insinuating. I don't think you're insinuating that. I mean, they're just you run away from a guy. You run right at him sometimes. You sit there and you run at the opponent's best defensive player to try and minimize what he's able to do. So, I mean, it's not as simple as just sitting there saying it's apples to apples, and you're playing the same game 14 times in a year, and you're seeing the same scheme 14 times in a year. So therefore, you've got a level playing field. That's not necessarily how it works. I could point to, where was Jeremiah Smith in a couple of games last year? Yeah, he was, nursing some injuries and stuff like that, but not everything is equal. Not everything is equal. Let me just sit here. Mika Hanna's talking about hot wings. I'm not. I love wings. I cannot eat a lot of wings. I'm not a huge food challenge guy in terms of eating a ton of food. I can't really do anything anymore. I can't eat super spicy food. I like spicy food, really spicy food, but once you get to a certain point, it's just a rough night. It's just a rough night. So I don't want to do that. I'm not going to eat 6 pounds of mac and cheese or something like that. I can't do that. Plus 2, my metabolism is so slow that 6 pounds would turn into 60 pounds. So I'm not doing that. Mike Ferguson says Bucky's now has brisket mac and cheese. It's been a minute. It's been about a year since I've been to a Bucky's, so I'm not going anywhere near the Huber Heights one for the first month, maybe even a little bit longer. I just know how new Bucky's are, and I know that there are a lot of people in Ohio that are excited about it, and I have a feeling that it is going to be absolutely terrible. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that you shouldn't go, but I just have no interest in going in the first month, maybe 2 months. Now, if Bucky's wants to have me come in and do a video, do a Hungry Hungry Huddle video or something like that, and I have a little security to get me in and out through the crowds, they're not there for me. They're there for Bucky. Um, then I would consider doing it. Troy says coming soon to Bucky's near Columbus, the Buckeye Huddle Beaver Nugget Challenge. I could eat a bag of beaver nuggets, but I think my teeth are already hurting thinking about eating a second bag. I couldn't do that in one sitting. That's just too much. It's just too much there. Mike Ferguson's wait till the road trip to Austin. Yeah, I just plan on flying into Austin and flying out of Austin and sticking around Austin. So um, there are a lot of places I already know where I want to eat in Austin. Now the problem is going to like Interstellar Barbecue. Probably not going to happen. Probably not going to have the time to go and sit there all day and try and knock that out. But Austin is a great food city for a city of its size. You just, I'm looking forward to that trip. Doug says my daughter-in-law fixed lobster mac and cheese for the Diners and Drives show. Oh my. I'm not a big lobster fan. If it's from the sea, it ain't for me. I don't really like seafood. I don't like fish. I don't like any of that stuff. It's just one of those things. People are like, well, what about catfish? That's not out of the sea. Well, I don't really like catfish either. But let me get another one here. I moved from Huber Heights, Northeast Ohio, a few months ago. It was sad knowing I was driving away from the site of a future Bucky's, but at least you know where everything is at that point, and you're far enough away that you're not necessarily going to be there all the time. Can you imagine how much you might be there if you lived within 10 minutes of a Bucky's? I mean, I know people that live by a Bucky's who that's where they go and get dinner. Well, where are you going? I'm going to go to Bucky's for dinner. That's pretty legit, but I don't know if I could do that on the regular. I think that Bucky's being a special occasion keeps it special for me. Have a top 10 barbecue joint in Texas here in my small town, blows those Austin places out of the water. I've been to several highly rated barbecue places in Texas, and I'm not even just necessarily talking Terry Black's and places like that. I mean, Terry Black's is really good. Is really good. I used to make really good barbecue. I've kind of lost my momentum of using the smoker. Just a lot of stuff has gone on. Just have lost a lot of joy for doing stuff. Maybe here as it warms up in the spring, I'll knock out a couple more uh, items off of the smoker. But I really enjoy that. I mean, they sit there and they say that when you turn 50, you either get into World War II or smoking meats. I like both, to be honest. We're closing in on a half hour, but I'm not going to necessarily run the show too quickly, but we're not going to go a full hour. I'm just warning you right now. So get your questions in. Hopefully, I see them. Super chats get you to the top. Definitely appreciate them. But what you can really do to help us out as well is subscribe to the channel, thumbs up, hit the bell. And of course, if you're not a member of Buckeye Huddle, why not? Why don't you get on board with Buckeye Huddle right now? Check us out over there. Tom, Tony, Mark, myself, Ross Fulton, Andrew Ellis, all sorts, just a great cast of characters over there at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Mika says she wants to try Bucky's. Any recommendations? Let me know when you're closer to going. They've got great breakfast burritos. Their brisket sandwiches are great. They've got their wall of beef jerky, but they've got a beef jerky counter. I like going to the counter a little bit more than anything else. I'll kind of walk you through it. Hold on one second. All right, there we go. Robert Howard, thank you for gifting some memberships here to the site. We do appreciate that. You've been a member for 8 months. It's all of that helps out again, uh, and it's a great way to get people involved as well. Um, but also, I just urge people too that have not checked us out over at BuckeyeHuddle.com to do that as well. Mike Ferguson wants me to smoke some Wolverine this fall. That just sounds terrible in terms of taste. I just imagine it's gamey and probably you'd have to cheat a lot to uh well, I'll let the joke write itself at that point. Um what day of the week would you like to see me try to do a live show? If I were to try and do it weekly. I don't know if Friday necessarily is the greatest day of the week for me. Anything that I would have to do would have to be after 2 Eastern. So, let me know. You can let me know here, let me know in the comments, when would you like to see me try to do a show? Doug asked, "What's my go-to wood for smoking?" I've got a pellet smoker because I don't have time, and I really don't have the lot to do a stick burner. I'm sure my homeowners association would have a fit if I had any sort of fire going on. So I use a pellet smoker and I kind of just use a general Bear Mountain type of pellet. No, I'm not getting all of the smoke taste that I would like to, but I'm getting a lot of it. I love my smoker. I'd be more than happy to talk about it. Florida Buckeye says Thursday is always a day for Big Noon. Mika says Wednesday or Tuesday. So at this point, we're kind of getting we're not getting any consensus. Maybe I'll try and figure this out. I go to church on Thursdays, so if I did it on Thursday, it would have to be like 2 to 3 or something like that. I go to church at 5. Um, We'll figure it out. I don't think Friday's gonna be the landing spot. I don't think Friday is gonna be the landing spot. We have no numbers right now. That's fine. I did not promote the show. Mika says she'll make any day work. Troy, back to the smoker question. Pecan, hickory, or oak for me. All of that. I like cherry. I would like to be able to use like some mesquite. I lived in Texas for 5 years, so I certainly know about the the uh the joys of using mesquite wood for all of that. So yeah, we will, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. But again, this was more of a proof of concept to see if I could sit down and do a show. And again, we talked a little bit about the draft, but why don't you, I'm going to give you homework. While my homework is to figure out when I'm going to do a show next week, and your homework is going to come up with questions for me, so I don't have to prepare for anything because that just makes it easier. I just like being able to run and talk, and actually for days that I can't do this, I can't do it on Wednesdays because that's going to be the day that I am on the Mark Rogers show on the Voice of College Football. I do a show with him at 4 o'clock. I believe it's 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. I don't know if I can do 2 hours of talking. That's just a lot on my voice, but we will figure it out. Maybe Tuesday. We'll get it going. Geiger F. Lee. Kevin is the best BH host. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I do appreciate being back. I do appreciate being on the show and doing things again. Just some things that have been out of my control here recently that have made it difficult for me to keep my schedule to where I want it to be. I'm hoping as we get closer to spring ball and I can string together a couple of weeks of doing shows there, that it becomes habit and it doesn't become oh my God, I forgot I set up a show and blew through it. Because that's not what you want to do. You guys take the time out of your day to sit there and listen to me talk. The least I can do is talk. Uh, Robert Howard, great to have you back, Kev. Appreciate you, bud. I appreciate you too. I appreciate all of you out there for giving us a listen. Again, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done that, and check us out at Buckeye Huddle. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Kevin_Noon. Tom was slashing Kevin's tires again. Oh my God, if my tires got slashed, I would be in so much trouble. I would be like, anybody here work for Goodyear? But that's for another day, another time, another place. And that other day, another time, another place will come next week. We will do a show next week. I promise. Maybe on Tuesday. We'll see. But until then, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.